Here's a truth that costs people more than almost any other. The age you claim Social Security is the biggest, most permanent retirement decision you'll ever make. And the honest answer isn't 62, it isn't 67, and it isn't 70. It's whatever your health, your income, and your spouse actually need it to be. And almost nobody decides it on purpose. They grab it the year they're eligible because their dad did, or they parrot some guy online yelling, "Just wait, free money." Both of those reflexes can quietly cost a household real years of freedom. I care about this one because I've stood on both sides of money. I came up counting every dollar, and then I went and actually studied how this stuff works, street and school. So in the next few minutes, I'm going to hand you the real framework, both directions, no cheerleading, so you can make this choice with your eyes open. Come watch how it plays out for a guy who almost got it very wrong.
Right now, in this kitchen, Gerald is about to make a decision that quietly costs his family more than $100,000. No alarm, no penalty. Just a man who's worked since 17, circling a date in red, the morning he turns 62 and claims Social Security. He's already decided, and he has no idea what it'll cost the woman asleep down the hall. You take it the second you can get it. Gerald says it like it's the most obvious thing in the world. Before they change the rules, before it's gone, his father did it that way. Every man at the plant, the same play. To Gerald, waiting isn't patience, it's leaving money on a table that won't be there tomorrow. You can feel where it comes from. 40 years of clocking in, of flinching every time an envelope hit the mat, of swearing next year things ease up. This check is the moment he finally exhales, the first money in his life that shows up whether he works or not. For most Americans, that monthly deposit is the closest thing to a guaranteed paycheck they'll ever see once the working years end. The Social Security Administration puts the average retired worker's benefit at about $2,080 a month, not a fortune. But for tens of millions of households, it's the floor everything else is built on. This is where I'd reach across the table and stop him. Because the age you pick to claim Social Security is the single most permanent money decision most people ever make. And almost nobody treats it like one. They treat it like grabbing a paycheck. It isn't. Researchers have spent entire careers on this one choice. Their finding? According to the United Income Study, only about 4 out of every 100 retirees ever pick the best moment to file. 4 out of 100. Almost everyone gets it wrong and never finds out. And here's what makes it brutal. It's final. This isn't a stock you can sell or a budget you tweak next month. You file, the number locks, and it shadows every year you've got left. And though Gerald can't see it yet, someone else's years too. So let me freeze it right here. Pen hovering over the form. Gerald, dead certain he's about to make the move everybody makes. Here's what he can't see. The exact same 40 years of work can pay 2 completely different checks. And the only thing that decides which one box. The age he writes on that line. File at 62, the earliest age allowed. And Social Security permanently shrinks every check by about 30%. The logic is simple, claim 5 years early, and they spread the same lifetime benefit over more years by paying you less each month. Look at the check in his hand. Smaller than he pictured. And that cut never grows back. Not at 65. Not at 80. Never. 30% off of what, exactly? Off a baseline with a name, your full retirement age. So, before we go further, let's nail it down. And first, kill the trap. It is not 59.5. That number is the IRS rule for pulling from your own 401k without a penalty. A completely separate system. Your Social Security full retirement age is the age you've earned 100% of your benefit. No early claim cut, no delay bonus, just your whole check. For anyone born in 1960 or later, that age is 67. Claim before it and your check is permanently smaller. Wait past it up to 70 and it grows. Now put a number on that upside. Wait past your full retirement age, and Social Security pays you a bonus for every year you hold off. They're called delayed retirement credits, worth about 8% a year. Wait the full 3 years from 67 to 70, and that stacks up to roughly 24% more in every check. 70 is the ceiling, though. Waiting past it adds nothing. So 70 is as big as this check will ever get. Put real dollars on it. Say Gerald's full benefit at 67 is about $2,500 a month, solid, for 40 years of steady work. Claim early at 62, and that same benefit drops to roughly $1,750. Wait to 70, and it climbs to about $3,100. Same man, same work record. Yet the early check is barely 57% of the late one. The late check is nearly double the early one, every month for life, decided by nothing but the age on the form. And that smaller check isn't a one-time haircut he can shrug off. It comes back every month, through his 60s. His 70s. Deep into his 80s, if he's lucky enough to get there. 20-some years of payments, every one of them shrunk by a signature he gave at 62. So before you pick a date, understand what that date actually buys, not paperwork. The size of the paycheck you'll lean on for the rest of your life. The distance between the smallest check and the biggest is the distance between scraping by and breathing easy. Gerald thought he was picking a start date. What he was really choosing was how much. Gerald wasn't buying it. A smaller check today is still cash I can use today, he says, leaning back like he's already won. Why wait on a bigger one I might not be around to spend? And honestly, it's the strongest argument there is. Almost everybody makes it. It sounds airtight, until you find the assumption buried underneath. Gerald's picturing a jar of money he has to spend before someone else gets to it. But that's not what this is. It doesn't empty when you've used yours up. It keeps paying for as long as you're around. Change the label, and the whole decision flips. A savings account is a pile you draw down. Stay retired long enough, and it can hit zero. Social Security works the opposite way. It's longevity insurance, the same way car insurance protects you against a crash. This protects you against a risk nobody likes to say out loud. Living so long your money runs out. It pays every month you're alive. A check that keeps paying no matter how long you last. And the longer you wait to switch it on, the bigger that lifelong check gets. There's a second piece almost everyone misses. That bigger check isn't just bigger once. It's inflation protected. It nudges up a little every year to keep pace with rising prices. So waiting doesn't just buy a bigger payment. It buys one that keeps climbing year after year. Okay, so when does waiting actually win? It all comes down to one number, the break-even age. Here's what that means. Claim early and you collect more checks, but each one is small. Wait, and the checks come fewer, but each of them far bigger. Track both as a running total, and there's exactly one age where they're dead even, where the waiter's bigger checks finally catch up to all the little ones the early claimer banked first. That age is the break-even. Before it, claiming early is ahead. After it, waiting wins. And according to AARP's math, for most people, those two running totals don't cross until somewhere around 80 to 82, which turns the whole choice into one honest bet, a bet on your own lifespan. Make it past 82, and waiting pays off. Die before it, and claiming early was the smarter call. That's the entire question. Will you clear the break-even line or not? Now, the gut punch. According to the Social Security Administration's own life expectancy tables, the average 62-year-old today reaches their early 80s, right at that break-even line, or past it. That's not the lucky exception who beats the odds. That's the typical case. That's most of us. Then, for Gerald, file at 62, reach a normal age, and he spends nearly 20 years collecting the reduced check, sailing right past that break-even line, leaving real money on the table with every year that follows. And here's the cruelest part. Gerald grabbed the money early for relief, a cushion so he could finally stop bracing for every bill. But a permanently smaller check is a permanently smaller cushion. So look where it puts him. Early 70s. Name tag on. back behind the counter of a job he thought he'd left for good. By now you can feel where this is heading. The math keeps pointing one way. Wait, squeeze out every last credit. Hold the line to 70. Gerald feels the pull too, shoulders sinking, already bracing to just tough it out. Except that tidy little conclusion is its own expensive mistake. Right on cue, instructs Chad. The guy in every comment section never met a nuance he couldn't flatten. Just wait to 70, bro. Barely looks up from his phone. Free money every time. File early and you're basically mailing cash back to the government. And Gerald almost buys it. You can see the relief wash over him that somebody finally handed him a simple rule. But that's the second trap. The one nobody warns you about because it sounds so responsible. Turning weight into a commandment is every bit as lazy as grabbing the check at 62 on reflex. So who does that? Just wait until 70's advice actually hurt. Meet Walt. Not a spreadsheet. Not an average. A man with a bad heart and a family tree full of funerals that came far too early. For Walt, the whole calculation turns upside down. That crossover point where waiting finally pulls ahead, sitting way up in the early 80s. He has every honest reason to think he'll never reach it. And a credit you don't survive to collect isn't a credit. It's a bet you've already lost. This is no hunch. Somebody ran the numbers. A Motley Fool analysis put two men side by side. One files at 62, one waits until 65. Both die in their mid-70s. The early filer came out thousands of dollars ahead in total lifetime benefits. Money the patient one never got to see. Let that sink in. For Walt, filing the first month he's eligible isn't the rookie blunder everyone assumes. It's the mathematically correct move. Claiming early bought him more total dollars and more good years to actually spend them, instead of guarding a fatter check he'd never be around to cash. And Walt's got company. By Social Security's own records, roughly 1 in 4 people claim the very month they turned 62. And for a real share of them, it isn't panic and it isn't ignorance. It's simply the right answer for the life they're actually living. Now watch Gerald's face. A minute ago, the math had him boxed into waiting. Now he's staring at a man for whom waiting would have been the real mistake. Both rules just fell apart in front of him. Grab it now and hold out no matter what. Same tired reflex, 2 different masks. So before Gerald picks a lane, he has to read the fine print, because it bites whether he claims early or waits. Remember the stakes. Get this one timing call wrong, and a typical household can bleed past $100,000. 3 things hide in that fine print. The first looks scary but sorts itself out. The second is a real, lasting bite. The last is the only undo button he'll ever get, one at a time. First up, the one that looks worse than it is. File before your full retirement age while you're still earning a paycheck, and Social Security can temporarily hold back part of your check. But here's the twist. You get every dollar back later once you reach that age. It's a delay, not a penalty. If that's you, the full details are in the description. Then the tax surprise most retirees never see coming. The Social Security check itself can be taxed. Not always, only once your combined income climbs past a line. Combined income is simple, your other money. A pension, a part-time job, retirement withdrawals, plus half of your Social Security. For a single retiree, once that total crosses about $25,000, up to half your benefit becomes taxable. For a married couple, the line is about $32,000. And per Charles Schwab, here's the kicker, those lines were frozen back in 1984 when Reagan signed them into law, and they've never moved since. So every year, quietly, they pull in more people. Now say Gerald claims. And a few months in, it hits him, he jumped too soon. Good news, there's a reset button. Social Security lets you withdraw your application, you officially unclaim, as if you never filed, and start over at a bigger age later. But it comes with 2 catches. First, you only get 12 months after you claim. Miss that window, and it's locked for good. Second, you can use it just once in your whole life. And the reset isn't free. You have to pay back every dollar you already collected. Say Gerald got about $1,750 a month for 10 months before he changed course. That's $17,500, all of it, written straight back to the government in one lump just to undo the choice. A real do-over, but not a cheap one. Now step back from the fine print and look at the whole picture. A study by the investment firm United Income, reported by CBS News, ran the numbers on this exact mistake. The typical household leaves about $111,000 on the table. Gone. Purely from claiming at the wrong time. And the deepest part of that hole? It's the one a married couple digs together without ever meaning to. Gerald's still convinced the only question is which year to grab his check. Then his neighbor Grace pulls up a chair, 30 years as a benefits counselor, and she just walked her own parents through this exact decision. The kind of woman who keeps a spreadsheet where most people keep a shrug. And she asks the one thing he never thought to ask. Not when should you claim. When should the two of you? For a married couple, Grace tells him, this was never two separate decisions at two separate desks. It's one move. Because the day either of them files quietly sets the floor the other has to stand on for life. Most couples run it as two singles who happen to share a kitchen. And they leave their strongest card face down. Here's the part nobody spells out, Grace says. While you're both alive, your household gets two checks, one for each of you. But you can't stack your benefit on top of a share of your spouse's. Each of you collects whichever is bigger, your own benefit, or up to half of the higher earners, never the two added together. So while both of you are living, two checks, and you can even start them at different ages, one of you early, one later. Then one spouse dies. And here's the part that trips everyone up. A married couple collects two payments, but the day one of them passes, that drops to a single one. The survivor keeps the larger of the two, the smaller simply ends. So if the higher earner goes first, the one left behind spends their remaining years on only that bigger benefit. Which is why its size, locked in the day it was claimed, matters so much. So here's the smart move, and it sounds backwards at first. Have the two of them claim at different ages. The lower earner starts early, a smaller amount, but money the couple can use right now. The higher earner does the opposite and holds out to 70, growing that benefit as large as it will go. Why do it that way? The early money helps them today. The delayed benefit becomes a shield for whoever is left behind. And it isn't about greed, it's protection. According to T. Rowe Price, when the higher earner holds out, the survivor benefit rises right along with it. So whoever is left behind inherits that larger amount, not the smaller one. Holding out doesn't only mean a fatter payment for him. It means a stronger floor for her, long after he's gone. Now watch where this finally lands. On his wife Carol. If Gerald claims early and dies first, the survivor check she inherits gets frozen at his early claim number. That same $1,750 a month, permanently reduced. That becomes the floor she survives on. Every month. In a kitchen with one empty chair. That's the moment it hits him. Every year he'd claim early just to feel safe. A little sooner, he'd have been quietly shrinking the one check built to carry Carol through the years after he's gone. The move he swore would protect his family was aimed straight at her. For most of his life, Gerald reacted. Took whatever move his father took. The same one his buddies are making right now, because running the math felt like tempting fate. This time, with Carol's whole future riding on it, he stops. So he finally does the thing he dodged for years. He pulls up the Social Security Administration's free break-even calculator, the tool that shows exactly when waiting pays off, and he feeds in his real numbers. Not when can I take it? What's right for us? The goal was never to wait. It was to decide on purpose. Claim from a plan, not from fear. Couples decide together, not separately. Lower earner claims early, higher earner waits. Waiting boosts the survivor's lifetime check. One smart choice can be worth $100K plus. Those are your takeaways. I'm Stan, a real person behind this channel, and it genuinely matters to me that this helps you. If you learned something today, hit like and subscribe so you don't miss the next one. And drop your story in the comments. We all make mistakes, we all learn. I'd love to hear what's worked for you.